Hi everybody and welcome back to the Inclusive Teacher Co podcast. My name's Steph Beatty, former experienced English teacher, now neurodiversity and literacy specialist, trainer, entrepreneur, speaker, author, dog mum, sufferer of losing things all the time and ADHD. I help parents and educators understand neurodivergent children properly without blaming them for things that are really needs, gaps, overload, or a brain that has looked at the plan for the day and gone, absolutely not, thank you. And today we're going back to basics, ADHD basics. I know an awful lot about ADHD. I've trained thousands, literally thousands of teachers, of support teams, educators, support workers, charities, workplaces, parents on ADHD, but I'm going to give you the basics. So before anyone panics, no, this is not going to be one of those episodes where I say, have you tried a visual timetable? And then wander off into the sunset feeling professionally satisfied. We're going to go a bit deeper than that. This is for parents who have heard the word ADHD, but still feel like nobody's properly explained to them what it feels like in real life. So forget the textbook, forget the diagnostic report, forget the school meeting when everybody uses acronyms and you're wondering if you're allowed to ask what they mean. Okay, I mean real life. The mornings, the homework, the shoes, the emotional explosions, the kid who can hyper-focus for 3 hours on Minecraft but can't find his PE kit that's somehow directly in front of his face, the kid who is bright, funny, curious, full of ideas but falls apart over the smallest looking demands, the kid who says, I forgot, and you think, literally, we said it 2 seconds ago, how can you forget? That child, your child. And today I want to explain ADHD in a way that helps you look at them differently potentially, not in a harsh, they need firm boundaries way, just properly, with some warmth, with some science, with some common sense, and the occasional necessary eye roll at the bad, shitty advice. So before we get into it, please do that usual thing. I'm asking for a favour, and I'd love it if you get anything out of my pods, which are free information, which I'm really passionate about. Please subscribe, please follow that podcast, click subscribe. It helps more parents find us and find this support. And you can also send this episode to that one parent who is currently in the hallway saying shoes, put your shoes on, questioning every life choice they've ever made. And also the link under this episode is there for you to pre-register for Inclusive Club. That's in the description. So Inclusive Club Community for parents of neurodivergent children opens on the 28th of September. There are 50 founding spaces only. You can pre-register until the 8th of September. After that, it will be member subscriptions, and once those spaces are full, there will be a wait list. If membership isn't for you right now, that's not a problem at all. You can join my free newsletter. You can be one of over 4,000 people who get my newsletter for practical advice, episode updates, and helpful support without having to sell a kidney or join another shouty, ranty Facebook group. So let's talk about ADHD. ADHD is still wildly misunderstood. It's one of those terms that everyone's heard of. Everyone thinks they've got a bit of it, or everyone's got a bit of it these days, but far fewer people actually understand it. A lot of people still imagine ADHD as a kid who just can't sit still. They talk constantly, they climb the furniture, and they have a close personal relationship with every member of senior leadership in school. And yes, some children with ADHD are physically restless. They're impulsive and they are very visible. But there are some children who have sharpened their pencil 6 times, asked to go to the toilet 6 times, and now swinging on their chair like they're training for Cirque du Soleil. Others look completely different. They might be quiet, they might be daydreamy, anxious, exhausted, over-prepared. They might be the perfectionist, they might be masking, they might be holding it together at school and then completely collapsing at home. They might not look like the stereotype, okay? They might look like they're coping, they might look like they are fine. And we all know my feelings about fine. You know, go back to that podcast a couple of episodes ago when I talked about girls and masking. She is fine. That's caused an enormous amount of damage to children who are quietly using every little bit of energy they have to look manageable, okay? So ADHD is not just about movement, it's not just attention, and it's not just behaviour. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition, okay? You can see it. You can see it in neuroimaging in children, and it affects how the brain regulates, okay? It affects how it regulates attention, activity, impulses, emotion, motivation, and executive function. The NHS, it describes it as a condition, and I hate that word condition, but I'll use it for the sake of this pod, a condition where the brain works differently to most people. And the NHS describe it as children and young people having difficulties. Now, I'll come back to that word in a second, but I don't like the word difficulty either. But difficulties with concentrating, sitting still, listening, following instructions, impulse control. And the NICE guidance, the NICA, covers recognition, diagnosis and support for ADHD across children, young people and adults. And I think the guideline was last reviewed in May 2025. So you can check out the information. So when we talk about ADHD, we've got to get past that cartoon version. Okay, so that cartoon version is useless. Parents, you don't need stereotypes, you need an explanation. Now, if somebody had asked me 20 years ago when I started working with young people what ADHD was, I'd have said the stereotype, lads who are really bouncy, can't sit still, like trying to put a lid on frogs. Basically, don't get me wrong, I've taught some of those classes, some of the best but most challenging classes I've ever taught. But now, if I had to give anyone, parents or educators, an explanation or at least one word to understand ADHD, for me, I would choose regulation. I wouldn't choose attention deficit. I wouldn't choose disorder. I would choose regulation. I would say there are differences in challenges in, not difficulties, not deficits, not disorders, but challenges or differences in regulating attention, regulating movement, regulating impulses, regulating emotion, effort, energy, motivation, regulating the ability to start, stop, shift, and return to a task. And I think a lot of the time, this is why from the outside looking in, ADHD can be quite confusing. A child with ADHD might focus beautifully on something really interesting, urgent, new, creative, competitive, novelty, urgent, or emotionally rewarding. But that same kid can't start a worksheet, they can't finish it, they can't tidy a room, get dressed, read a page, or remember the instruction you gave them 30 seconds ago. So parents sometimes come to me and say, but Steph, they can focus when they want to. But I often challenge that with, no, it's not when they want to, it's when their brain gives them, or the task gives their brain enough stimulation, enough energy, enough urgency or interest or reward. And that is very, very different, because the ADHD brain is not often short of attention. Sometimes it has lots of attention, but the steering of it is unreliable. It might lock onto the thing that the teacher doesn't want it to lock onto. It might struggle to get away from that thing. It might drift when the task is dull. It might get overloaded if there's too many steps because they can't quite hold it in their working memory. It might go completely missing during a transition. So this is why, I've spoke to parents and their kids can spend 90 minutes to 2 hours building an elaborate Minecraft world with architectural precision and then be unable to put their socks on without appearing personally offended by the existence of their own feet. And it's not ability, okay, in the simple sense. The issue is regulation. So to understand ADHD, we've got to understand executive function. This is our brain's management system. And I think this phrase gets thrown around quite a lot in neurodiversity space. It sounds fancy, but it's actually one of the most useful things that parents can understand about their kids or even their own brains. So our executive function is the brain's management system. It helps us start tasks, plan, organize, remember steps, remember the sequence of steps, helps us manage time, what else, control impulses, switch between activities or tasks, hold information in the brain, that's our working memory while we're using it. It's our ability to monitor what we're doing in real time. It's helping us finish things without, wandering off. But for children with ADHD, this management system can be, it's not absent, but it can be inconsistent. And if there's anything I know about ADHD is we are consistently inconsistent. So this is why they might be capable one day and completely unable to do something the next. And adults become frustrated with them because we think consistency proves ability. So they did it yesterday, why can't they do it today? Maybe. Or maybe yesterday he had more sleep, less noise, fewer demands, better regulation, more interest, and one less adult saying, come on, it'll only take 5 minutes, which, by the way, has never calmed anyone in the history of parenting. So the research, continues to show the strong link between ADHD and executive function. It's even a study that I read not long ago, a 2024 study on working memory, and basically control, like inhibition control in children with ADHD. And it found that working memory has a broad impact on children's ability to inhibit automatic responses and maintain fast and accurate performance. But then, again, broader research has also linked executive function difficulties with emotion regulation and challenges within children with ADHD. So the practical message here, it's quite simple. When they are struggling, and this is apparent for if they've got dyslexia and autism as well, by the way, but when they're struggling, look for the executive function demand. Do they need help to start? Do they need to remember the steps? Are they trying to shift from one thing to another? Do they need to manage time? Do they need to hold back impulse? Do they need to organize materials? Do they need to regulate emotion before they can ever even access that task? So when we see the hidden demand, the support can get better. Okay, so when we see the hidden demand, the support can get better. So all we have to do is ask better questions. Okay, so I think we all have as well what I call the simple, in inverted commas, if you're listening, not watching this on YouTube, the simple task problem. Adults are very good at calling things simple. Just get dressed, just write the sentence, just tidy your room, just start your homework, just read the page, just, lovely. Okay, but for an ADHD brain, just is often doing an offensive amount of work. Okay, so let's think about just get ready for school. That is not one task. Okay, let's think about what executive functions this requires. Okay, or general decisions. Waking up, getting out of sleep, and we know that ADHD comes with sleep disturbance for a lot of people as well. Handling any sensory input, choosing clothes, tolerating clothes, remembering the order of the morning, eating breakfast, even eating breakfast with a sibling, packing a bag if they haven't done it the night before, finding their shoes, managing the time, coping with reminders, ignoring distractions, transitioning out of the house and dealing with the emotional atmosphere of everyone else, and trying not to lose their head before 8:30 in the morning. This is absolutely not one task. This is a full-on executive function assault, okay, with a serial-based subplot. So when adults understand ADHD, we stop thinking about how simple the task looks from the outside and we start asking the better questions. And that's all we need to do. How many steps are inside the task I've just asked them to do? What does my child need to hold in their mind? Okay, where is the likely friction point going to be? What can I make visible for them? What can I reduce? What can I do alongside them? Maybe can I body double with them at the start? And this is where the practical support begins. And I do get a lot of people, a lot of pushback, especially from morons on social media. And I'll make no apologies from saying that because they're just really antagonistic for the sake of it. Everyone's got to cope with life. They've got to be independent. They've got to do their own thing eventually. And you just think, oh my God, please just get informed or shut up, because it's not about doing it for them. It's giving them strategies so that they can do it themselves. I'm going to get off my soapbox there, but anyway. So let's talk about emotional regulation now, because this is one of the biggest things that parents come to me about as well. And a lot of parents are told that ADHD it's about attention, it's about hyperactivity. And they then go home to a child who has literally had a volcanic reaction to the wrong plate, a changed plan, a corrected word, or somebody breathing too loudly nearby. Okay, and I've experienced that myself in a classroom. And the parents are like, okay, well, is this ADHD? Is it anxiety? Is it me? Have I somehow failed due to insufficient sticker charts? No. Okay, give yourself a break. You're human, guys. Many ADHD children experience emotions intensely and quickly. ADHD is a condition with a high emotional load, not a behavioral choice. The feeling can arrive like a wave, okay? Literally a wave. One of the really good things you can look up is Dr. Daniel Siegel's The Idea of Flipping Your Lid. So have a little look at that if that helps as well. But the feeling can arrive like this wave, and the thinking part of the brain is not going to catch up in time to manage it neatly. Okay, so to the adult, to us, it might look, well, this reaction's a bit out of proportion, but to them, it's very real. Their perception is their reality, and that feeling is absolutely enormous. The research here has increasingly recognized emotional dysregulation as a massive part of the ADHD picture. And there was a 2024 study done by the University of Cambridge, and it was a summary that I read of this report, and it said that around 1 in 2 children with ADHD show signs of emotional dysregulation. And there was a study study as well, neuroscience study, Cambridge as well, in 2025, it stated that over half of children and adolescents with ADHD have difficulties with emotional regulation. So 2 studies there that show it's at least 50%. But in my experience, a lot of children are masking, but that's another topic altogether. So when they have a huge reaction, we have to be careful. We still need boundaries, we still need the repair, we still need to teach skills, but we also need to understand the nervous system. If they are flooded with emotion, we do not lecture them, okay? We connect before we correct. And I know this is devastating news to those of us who have prepared a really excellent hallway speech about respect and responsibility and where the school shoes should live. And I've been there myself, okay? The lecture might be accurate, but the timing might be absolutely terrible. So I would say regulation first, repair after, okay? Teach them later. So connection before correction, regulation before repair. Think about that rhythm. Now, I want to be really, really clear that ADHD does not remove accountability. I want to be very clear about that. We do not need to remove accountability or boundaries. I don't like the idea that people say, oh, I've got ADHD, so they can do whatever the hell they want. That's such bullshit, okay? Understanding ADHD doesn't mean we remove expectations. It doesn't mean parents have got to tiptoe around the house offering snacks to 9-year-olds as if they run the family like a tiny, exhausted CEO. That's a no. Support still needs structure and boundaries, okay? Kids with ADHD need clear expectations, clear, predictable routines, co-regulation. We need practice, we need boundaries, and adults who can help them build skills. So again, another one of my phrases, skill building over sanctions. And that's what I teach a lot of educators when I'm doing my trainings. And the difference is how we interpret that struggle. So a child who cannot yet manage a demand consistently needs support to build that skill. A child who is dysregulated needs help to calm before they reflect. A child who forgets needs memory supports. Okay, a child who can't start might need an adult to help them with the first step. A child who explodes after school might need decompression before homework enters the building like an uninvited guest. High expectations and high support can exist together. In fact, they need each other. Expectation without support is pressure because they're thinking, I've got to meet these really high expectations and I don't quite know how to do it. But support without expectation can become helplessness and sometimes learned helplessness, and we don't want either. We want them to grow and we want the adults to stop pretending like effort alone can solve a nervous system problem, a working memory problem, or a task initiation problem. Now, a question that I get that drives a lot of parents round the bend is they know what to do, so why don't they do it? Now, this is my life, by the way. I know what to do, I just can't always do it. And I understand this as an ADHDer. And again, question that's going to drive you absolutely around the bend. They know the rule. They know where their shoes go. They know when their homework's due. They know they need to bring a book home. They know they shouldn't shout. Yes, but knowing is not the same as access and knowledge in that moment. And that's absolutely crucial, okay? A child might know the rule when they're calm, but struggle to apply it when they're tired, when they're embarrassed, when they are emotionally flooded, when they are overstimulated. They know that homework exists, but they don't bring the book home. They know that the morning routine is the way it is, but might lose track halfway through. They know shouting makes things worse, but they'll still shout and that feeling arrives faster than they can put the brakes on. So ADHD, think of it like this. It does create the gap between knowing and doing, and that gap is where a lot of shame grows. So when adults say, you know better, the child thinks, I do know better, so why can't I do it? And then they create this identity of themselves as being stupid, broken, there's something wrong with me, so we can respond more helpfully. And I hope this helps, guys. So if it does, please share this with somebody and do click that subscribe button. But you can say something like, okay, you know what needs to happen, so let's work out a plan. Let's work out what support is going to help you do this. Okay, you know your kids better than me. I'm not going to go through loads and loads of support strategies. I'll come up with a few in a second, but the caveat is I'm not working with you on a one-to-one basis, so it is a sort of generic support. But we can keep belief and support in the same room because you're saying to them, I know this is hard, but you are capable. So we're going to build a bridge between knowing and doing. So as always, let's make this practical. One thing you guys say about me is that I am all about the practical. Of course I am. This is why we are starting Inclusive Club Community for neurodivergent parents, so you can actually implement strategies, not just go away with a mound of other information to digest and figure out what to do with. So if your child is struggling with working memory, very simply reduce the number of verbal instructions. Okay, don't stand at the bottom of the stairs shouting 6 things at once, and I say this with love. No child with working memory challenges has ever heard, processed, stored and executed. Brush your teeth, get your bag, put your jumper on, find your reading book, stop annoying your sister and check if you need your PE kit, okay? They probably heard like brush and sister in that sentence, in those sentences. So think about it this way. Think about a list that they can tick off. Pictures, a whiteboard, a visual process. One instruction at a time. You could use show me rather than tell me back if that works better. If they struggle with task initiation, start it with them, sit beside them. Just at the beginning, open the book, write the first word together, put the first sock in their hand to put in the drawer, okay? Set the first 2-minute timer, because starting is often the hardest part. And if they do struggle with time, I say make a time visible. Think of clocks that they can physically see, sand timers, countdowns, music playlist. So go 2 songs, then you get your shoes on and get ready for school. Okay, time is very, very abstract for an ADHD brain. Many ADHD brains need it outside the head where they can see it, hear it, or feel it. Now, if they struggle with transitions, give some warning and connection. So in 10 minutes, we're stopping. You can give the timer. In 5 minutes, we're stopping. Choose the last thing you want to do before we stop. So the transition isn't just moving from one activity to another. It can feel like they're being pulled away from something that their brain is locked onto and that their brain actually enjoys. So if they're struggling with emotion, reduce the words when they're flooded. So, I can see this is too much. I'm going to help you calm first. We'll talk when your body's ready. This is hard. You're safe. So short sentences, low voice. Nobody regulates when they're being like cross-examined in a courtroom. Okay? So keep it really, really calm. So what you can maybe stop doing, all right? I want to gently release you from a few things here. You can stop explaining the same thing 94 times in longer and longer sentences while your child gets less and less able to hear you. Okay, you can stop assuming that a bigger reaction means they care less. Stop treating forgetfulness as failure. Stop measuring your parenting by what strategy works immediately. Okay, and you can stop believing that if you were just more consistent, more organized, more patient, okay, more whatever the internet is currently selling, that your child would magically become easy, because you are parenting a child with a different regulation profile. You need good information, you need sustainable strategies, and you need support that doesn't make you feel like you're failing every time a morning goes sideways. And I know you are at your wit's end. I know you can't wait till I go to bed so you can just have a minute's peace, okay? And this is why, exactly why, ongoing parent education is so important. Just, not one webinar, not a free handout, now and again, not a generic cheat sheet, which is bullshit. It's ongoing support, okay? Children grow, demands change, school expectations increase, hormones arrive and start throwing furniture around the emotional system, friendships shift, homework changes, exams appear, and independence becomes more important. So the support has to grow with them. And this is exactly why Inclusive Club exists, and this is why I'm building it, because parents need somewhere that they can come back to. A place where we can talk about ADHD, dyslexia, autism, reading, school, homework, burnout, masking, meltdowns, diagnosis, all of the above, and the very specific emotional damage caused by a school email that starts with "just to make you aware," and you think, oh my God, what now? Okay, Inclusive Club Community, we open on the 28th of September. We are going to have monthly live sessions with myself, with other guest speakers, experts in their fields, a moderated parent community, expert answers, and practical support that grows around what you actually need as a family. And we're also going to build in what I'm calling the child-facing strand. Okay, so you will have mini series on there that your children can watch to help them understand themselves and their brains, which I think is massively missing at the moment online. So we'll start with Key Stage 2, then move to 3 and 4, ADHD, dyslexia and autism, in a language that they understand. that supports their confidence and their self-understanding. My community and the resources on there, the recordings and the resources, are going to be built carefully. It's not going to appear on day one like some sort of neurodiversity Netflix, okay? I'm not Superwoman, despite the rumours. I am one person with ADHD with a strong sense of purpose and a very dangerous relationship with late night idea generation, okay? So we will build it properly, bit by bit, useful thing by useful thing. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Okay, when they struggle, pause before jumping. Okay, so instead of thinking, oh, they're being so lazy, not that you do, but I do get some parents thinking this. Think, is the task too hard to start? Instead of they never listen, ask the better question. Is there too much language? Instead of they are overreacting, ask, is their nervous system flooded? Instead of they don't care, ask the better question. Is reward, urgency, or meaning strong enough for their brain to engage? Instead of they should know this by now, we ask the better question. What support helps them access what they know? Okay, we're not excusing everything, but these questions give us better information, and better information leads to better support. So if this episode's helped, please subscribe, follow the podcast. It genuinely helps us support and reach more families, which is my one goal. Send this to one parent who needs to hear that their kid's not doing this on purpose to ruin family life before breakfast. And the link to pre-register for Inclusive Club is in the description. We open on the 28th of September. You can pre-register up until the 8th of September. There are 50 founding spaces only. After that, after the pre-register, I will give you an opportunity to move into a member subscription. And when we have filled 50 spaces, there will be a wait list. Okay, so in here, there is going to be a basic program called ADHD Made Clear. So if you got value out of this podcast, you will definitely get value out of my program, ADHD Made Clear. And this is designed in a way, it's got visual graphics, it's got downloads, very step-by-step, very easy mini lessons to digest to help you understand your child's ADHD and the diagnosis or the lack of diagnosis in a very clear, digestible way that helps you support them, understand them, support their needs at home, and have good conversations with school. And there are going to be other mini programs in there as well, such as my very, very popular sold out program, ADHD Reading at Home, and also Dyslexia and Autism Made Clear. But if membership's not for you, you can join the free newsletter. So again, link beneath this podcast for practical advice, episode updates, and support straight to your inbox. And as always, guys, talk to me. Tell me what you need. Tell me what they're struggling with. What topics would help your family? My Inclusive Teacher Co. company exists to improve the life chances of neurodivergent children through education, through understanding, and through proper support. Steph, you're doing better than you think. And if nobody said it today, your shoes are probably under the couch. I'll see you in the next one, guys.